Asuka is a well-rounded character that strikes a good balance between offense and defense in Tekken 8. She however excels mostly on defense as she has one of the best parries in the game, as well as having one of the best keep out tools as well. Hey guys, Gamer Name here, and in this guide we are going to talk about Asuka's most important tools, how to use these tools, in what scenarios you want to use these tools, and just some overall tips, tricks and tech on Asuka's best moves in Tekken 8. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Okay, so let's start with Asuka's 1-3 string. So this is a high-low string which is also her 10-frame punish. Now the reason why I add this as one of Asuka's most important tools is because one of Asuka's biggest weaknesses has always been her jab game. Asuka does not have generic jabs that most of the cast has in this game. It's a hard struggle with Asuka when it comes to her jab games in neutral as well. So you have to take what you have, and 1-3 is that jab game for her. So like I said, this is a high-low. It can be low parry. The second hit can be low parry, so you have to be very careful. On hit, it is natural, and the last hit is 0 on hit, so you can move around afterwards and reset the neutral. She also has a different extension which is 1-2. This is a high mid string. It's safe at -8, so you kind of use this as a mix-up to 1-3. It's not the best mix-up you have out there, but as an Asuka player, bro, you take what you can get, especially when it comes to her jab game. This string also has some extensions. She has 1-4, which is a high mid with the last part of the mid being unsafe at -12, right? So you have to be very careful, but it's very good as a mix-up to that 1-2. So you have layers on mix-up with this string. First you have 1-3, which is high-low, then you have 1-2, which is high-mid, then again you have another mix-up from 1-2, which is 1-4, which is high-mid. You also have 1-3, which is high-mid as well. The mid is safe at -2, which is amazing. You can sidestep afterwards and move around afterwards, but it can be jab interrupted. So I have a mix-up between the 1-4 string, which is a complete string, can't be interrupted, and you have 1-3, which can also be stepped. So you have some mind games to all these mix-ups. Now, like I said, it's not the best mix-up game you have with Asuka, especially with her jabs, but considering how weak her jabs are, you have to use these mix-ups, guys. Like in Tekken, probably the most important tools are probably jabs. Like you have no idea how strong jabs are in this game. Jabs command the neutral, they initiate pressure, they get you in, they get you out. Like jabs are the B&B of Tekken when it comes to neutral, and this is Asuka's biggest weakness. So you have to use the tools readily available for that. So the thing about Asuka is with the 1 string, right? When you spam 1, people expect a low parry a lot. So like 1 jab into just normal pressure is very good, because now the opponent is buffering low parry. Every time you throw out a jab, they buffer low parry. Every time you throw out a jab, they buffer low parry. So the buffering low parry, boom, 1-2, right? You're still safe. You stay safe at -8. Yes, you can't move, but again, you have another layer of mix-ups with 1-4 and 1-3. So this is kind of like the idea behind her 1 jab pressure or her 1-3 pressure is the mind games with the strings and the 1-3 with the low at the end. Depending on how your opponent reacts after these strings, make decisions based off of their reactions. Let's say you do 1 jab in the twitch taking a lot, so like 1 jab into down 4-2 is pretty good, 1 jab into 1+2, 1 jab into down 4, 1 jab into go low, 1 jab into back 4. As long as your opponent is reacting a lot after 1 jab, this gives you the opportunity to keep going in, which is kind of good, honestly, but it's kind of a shame. Like I said, the jab being really bad on Asuka makes it very difficult to use her sometimes, but if you just get used to her, get used to the flow, you won't really have that much trouble using Asuka's 1 jab game. So next, let's talk about Asuka's 2 strings, her forward 1-3 string and her back 2-1-3 string. So both of these strings have the same properties. It is safe on block at -5, so although tight, you can still sidestep afterwards, and it is +6 on hit, which is amazing. The thing about this string, what makes it so strong, is the fact that the last hit gives +14 on counter hit. That means you get a guaranteed 14 frame follow-up afterwards, down back 1-2, which can take you into hit, or down back 1-4 if you don't want to go into hit. So the same thing applies to her back 2-1-3 string. Basically just the same properties, you just have the luxury of having an extra 3rd hit to start the string. So what makes this string good is the last hit, like I said. So now opponents really don't want to press buttons when Asuka does back to 1 or just forward 1 in general, right? Because they know that the follow-up grants 14 frames, which takes them into hit, and of course they have to hold the -17 guessing game, so no one wants that. So when your opponent stops pressing buttons when you do forward 1 or back to 1, that means you basically steal your turn back, so you can keep your offense going after forward 1 or back to 1. Just to give you guys some scenarios or some examples of what you can do. So let's say back to 1, you notice your opponent is not pressing buttons anymore. You go like back to 1 or forward 1 into a down forward 2, right? Sometimes they'll hesitate, they'll realize, okay, he hasn't thrown out the last string, so maybe I can attack now. Tries to jab, by the time they realize it, you've already thrown out a down forward 2, and they have their ass launched. You can go like forward 1 into back 4, which is a counter hit launcher, so it's a good counter hit setup. You can go for like back to 1 into 1+2 mid safe launcher. I'll talk about all these moves in the video, guys, so please don't worry about that. I got you. And you can even go low, right? Back to 1, go low, back to 1, grab. As long as your opponent respects you, you steal your turn back. They start challenging you, start finishing the string now, because what do you have to lose? The string is still safe. So this is what makes these strings very, very good. Like even just forward 1 on its own, just like back to 1. So forward 1, right, forward 1, grab, forward 1, go low, forward 1, down forward 2, forward 1 into 1-3, forward into 1-2, forward into jabs. That's the idea, it's the basic idea. And I also forgot to mention that this string can also be delayed. The last hit, the kick, can be delayed as well. So this completely throws your opponent off, because again, you do have the threat of that counter hit. Very, very strong string. And so the string is +6 on hit, and +6, like I said, is really, really good. You have some pretty good frame traps or follow-ups after this string lands on hit. So at +6, you can go for like down forward 2, which is a frame trap. They press buttons, they get launched. You can go for 1+2, which will trade with jabs, but in your favor, you still get the combo. You can go for counter hit setups. Let's say forward 1 on hit, or sorry, forward 1-3 on hit, or back to 1 on hit into back 4 is a counter hit frame trap. They press buttons, they get launched. It's amazing on hit as well. Asuka's jab game is not that great in this game, but her string pressure is really, really good, and this is one of those strings that make Asuka very, very scary, especially at the wall. You don't want to randomly press into her when she's doing these bullshit strings, because one mistake, you're getting more splat, and this hand does a bunch of damage. So forward 1-3 strings and back to 1 strings, very, very amazing for like mental frames and just pressure in general. Okay, so next up is Asuka's down forward 2. Now I don't usually talk about down forward 2s and down forward 1s in these guides, but because down forward 2 kind of fits Asuka's archetype as kind of a very good defensive character, I will talk about this move because again it's integral to her playstyle. So down forward 2 of course is a normal launcher on hit, does not launch crouching opponents though. It is safe on block as well, which is amazing, and this is why this down forward 2 is really good. Like low, Asuka, basically down forward 2s that don't launch crouching opponents but are safe and launch standing opponents, these are all used the same and they're so good. Like if you have a down forward 2 like this, guys, abuse the hell out of it. So of course just used for keep out mostly. An opponent is in your face, boom, down forward 2, right? This will stop people from just pressuring you for free. Kind of think of it like a magic 4. The Tekken 7 days, the magic 4, but now that magic 4s are gone, the down forward 2 kind of remains as the maybe like low-key version of a magic 4. It's just an amazing tool for keep out. Now the tracking is decent at best. It tracks decently at her right side but is very weak to her left side, so you have to be very, very careful. Can't just throw it out for free every single time. But the fact that Asuka has this down forward 2 means your opponent won't just rush in against you every single time. They have to calculate their offense every single time again. Like it's really, really good if used in a smart sense in that way. And as we'll talk about later in the video, she does have a lot of defensive options, so you won't really rely all that much on down forward 2 for keep out. And for a lot of moves that put you at +5 to +6 in terms of frame traps, down forward 2 is a good option for that, right? So you have moves like down back 3, which is her go-to low poke, is +4 on hit. If the opponent does hold standing 4 and you do down forward 2, you are going to trade, but again to be a trade in your favor. So it's a very good frame trap. We're speaking about like 1 jab on hit to down forward 2 is very strong. 2-1 on hit to down forward 2. You have, we spoke about 2-1-2 as well, being +6. Down forward 2 is a good frame trap. Back 4 on hit into down forward 2, another good frame trap. Forward 1 as well into down forward 2, good frame trap as well. So you do have some pretty good frame traps and setups for down forward 2. So it's a very, very versatile move, can be used offensively and defensively as well. It's just one of those moves. That's pretty much it with down forward 2. Honestly, there isn't really much around this move. But again, you have to be smart on how you use down forward 2, because an opponent that's moving a lot, very good at high steps, will beat out to down forward 2 most of the times, especially if you're being too predictable with this move. This is something that most players look for with characters that are very good down forward 2s, right? Lee, Shaheen, people expect you to throw out down forward 2s a lot, so you have to be very, very smart on how you use this down forward 2. But again, amazing for keep out. An opponent shouldn't be dashing in your face for free because of this move. Very, very strong. Asuka's 1+2 is one of the best moves in the game in general. Like free, this move is amazing, probably like top 10. This is a 16 frame -9 on block mid launcher. That's right, it launches on normal hit, guys. It's a free launcher. Think of things down forward 3, except it gives you a full combo. Doesn't instantly screw, but gives you a full combo. Like this mid is scary as fuck. This is the reason why people won't duck against Asuka. The biggest weakness to 1+2 is its linearity. This move is very, very linear. So you won't just be throwing it out carelessly in the neutral. We're going to use it mostly in different situations. The first one is when you have really, really good plus frame. So for example, off of a hit engager, right? You can go for a 1+2 mix-up. She also has down 1+2, which is a very strong knockdown law that guarantees you a forward 2. I will talk about this law as well in its own section, so just look forward to that. But basically it's used as a 50-50 between the law and this mid. When you have good plus frames, like after a hit engager, or just in general when you are at an advantage, is when you want to throw out 1+2. The second scenario is at the wall. Very, very strong pressure at the wall. Again, because of that law she has, down 1+2, being a knockdown is very, very like scary to deal with. So you have to guess between the low and the mid. So those are the best two scenarios in which you want to use 1+2. In neutral, you have to be like, you can use it in neutral. It's not that useless, but you have to implement your forward 4 as well, which is a strong homing move that Asuka has as well. I have a different section for forward 4 as well, so look forward to that. Basically, if you want to use a lot of 1+2 in neutral, you have to condition your opponent to stop sidestepping. This is why you throw out a lot of forward 4s. But like in general, when you have a lot of plus frames and at the wall is where 1+2 shines a lot. Like 1+2 is just that move, bro. Like 1+2 is it. Like it's just it, bro. Like this move is annoyingly strong. It is very, very difficult to deal with an Asuka player that knows what they're doing with this move. Like if you know how intoxicating things down part 3 is, then you guys know where I'm getting at, guys. Like it's just that good, bro. Like it's so good. I can't stress enough. So first, let's talk about some good frame traps for 1+2. So people that don't understand frame traps, these are basically putting your opponent in situations in which they are not allowed to press buttons if you do certain moves, or they will get hit. So basically a good frame advantage in your favor, right? Putting your opponent in a guessing game situation, also to speak. So for example, we talked about a few of them, like 1, so basically anything that's +6 and above, 1+2 is a very good follow-up move in that situation, or a very good frame trap. So stuff like 1 jab, right? 1 jab is what, +8, so 1+2 is a very good follow-up. 2-1 is +6 as well, so 1+2 is a good follow-up. You trade 1-2, again on hit is +6. You trade with 1+2, but a trade in your favor as well. You get the full launcher. Back 4 is +8. 1+2 is a good follow-up. Down back 1 +8. 1+2 follow-up. You have running 2 as well in Ninawa Gusto stance, or during her install, then followed by 1+2 is a good setup for 1+2. So she has quite a few of these. I can't tell you guys everything. You have to explore and figure out what works. It's just giving you guys a platform on which to build your knowledge with Asuka. But these are some really good scenarios you want to use this setup, right? Basically, you have plus frames below hit engager, boom, you are in that 50-50 situations between the down 1+2 and the 1+2. So she has a bunch of moves like this that give her +6 or +8 and above. Like that is perfect situation for a 1+2 follow-up. Like, people won't duck against Asuka, bro. Like, they just won't because of this move. It is just so scary. It's an amazing move, and honestly, I'm surprised it's survived in Tekken 8 considering how strong it is. But all in all, it's an amazing move. I don't know what else to say, guys. I don't know how else I can express it, but it's just be very careful in neutral. Like I said, it's a very linear move, right? You have to be smart when you use 1+2. Unlike things down for 3, which has pretty good tracking, 1+2 does have linear tracking. You have to be very, very smart on how to use it. But overall, again, one of the best mids in the game and one of Asuka's best moves free. Back 4 is a safe mid knee that's -7 on block, comes out at 15 frames, is +8 on hit, and is a counter hit launcher as well. This move is very, very versatile. Like, it's amazing. Just a really, really good counter hit fishing tool, and that's all that it is, right? And the icing on the cake is it's a knee, so you won't be getting parried by most characters like Dragonov, you know, Nina. Of course, being a knees and elbows not being able to be parried by most characters in the game. So like I said, it's just the counter hit fishing tool. It does have a full string extension, back 4 to 3. You won't really be using this outside of like combo enders maybe, but even that you won't really be using it altogether. Like, back 4-2 is unsafe at -12, right? And the last hit is launch punishable on block at -15. So I don't really see the need to use this move. Maybe if you're trying to throw your opponent off, right, do the full string instead of just doing for back 4, it might be useful in that sense. But what you're looking for mostly is only the back 4 counter hit from this, because if you do the whole string and you land it on counter hit, you will get everything, but it won't be a launcher, right? You will get all the hits guaranteed, or all the follow-ups, but it won't be a launcher. Focus mainly on the back 4 on its own as a fishing tool. And the only downside to this move is the range. The range is not that great, right? So you have to be like point blank range to utilize your back 4. That's sort of its biggest weaknesses. The tracking is not too good either, but not as bad as most of Asuka's other moves. But the range is what really lets this move down. So of course, being a counter hit tool, you want to have some pretty good frame traps for this, and she has a lot. It's 15 frames, so basically every frame trap I talked about in the down 4-2 section applies to back 4, basically putting your opponent in situations where they're not allowed to press buttons or they will get counter hit by back 4. So down back 3, for example, is a good example into back 4. Of course, this can be beaten by a back dash because again the range is not that great. So if you're down back 3, if you're short of press buttons, back 4 is a really good option. You have forward 1 as well into back 4. A forward 1 is +5, so you will trade with jabs if they do throw out jabs, but again it will be a trade in your favor, just like down 4-2, and you will still get the full launcher on counter hit. You have running 1+2 in Ninawa Gusto into back 4, another good setup, and everything we talked about in a down 4-2 section, guys. 1 jab on hit, 2-1 on hit, 1-2 on hit, all those apply to back 4 as well. 15 frames, guys. So down 4-2 is also 15 frames, so this works for back 4 as well. So a very, very versatile knee. Really, really good to just keep your opponent to not press buttons against you. I did say Asuka is a very, very good character when it comes to defensive utility or defensive moves, and back 4 is another of that move. She has really good keep out and really good counter hit tools as well for what she does. Like, she has really decent counter hit tools if you think about it. I actually think she has more counter hit tools than Steve, as crazy as that might sound. She is really, really strong in the counter hit department as well. So back 4, guys, really, really good for good setups and just defensively as well. Forward 4 is a really strong homing move that you're going to be using a lot with Asuka, especially at close range. This move comes out at 19 frames, is +3 on block, which is strong, and it knocks down on hit, guaranteeing you a forward 3+4, which gives you Ninawa Gusto. Now you can actually launch from this move on natural hit, but it's very inconsistent. You have to be either very close to the opponent, and sometimes you have to be at a certain angle to get the full launcher. You can pick up with 1+4, but it's very, very inconsistent. So I do advise just go for this forward 3+4, but if you do have the timing right, by all means go for the full combo. So this is a very good move. We've spoken about how most of Asuka's tools are very linear in this game. We've spoken about down forward 2, back 4, 1+2. Whilst all these moves are strong, they are very linear. This applies to Asuka's lows as well, which we'll cover later in the video. Her lows such as down back 3, down 1+2 are strong, but they're also very linear. So you are going to always use forward 4 for tracking, especially at close range. This applies to high level or higher ranks, where people actually know what they're doing and sidestep a lot. If they know the matchup, they're going to be moving around a lot against Asuka. So this stops them from moving, because again, if you get the timing correctly, you can get a full juggle out of this. This is a safe high, not perfect, it's a high, can be ducked, but the fact that you can actually potentially get a full launcher from this is pretty scary. So opponents have to be very careful. So +3 on block, you get to keep your turn. You can throw out a down forward one afterwards, but of course you would trade with jabs, being 13 frames. 1-2 is a good follow-up, 2-1 is a good follow-up as well. If they start respecting you, then go in, right, down 1+2, you can go low, you can go for a grab. Just make the reads on what your opponent is doing after forward 4 on block, then make decisions based off of their reads the next time you throw it out. And there's no specific way you want to use this move, just use it in situations where you think your opponent will sidestep at close range. So after down back 3, for example, down back 3 having some really strong frame traps like down forward 2 after I've talked about, back 4 counter setup. So all this can be beaten by sidestep. Forward 4 will counter the sidestep, and it's very good in situations like that. Used as a mix-up mostly for 1+2, down back 3 and back 4. Stop your opponent from moving a lot at close range. She has very strong homing moves at max range. I will talk about it later in the video as well, but for close range, forward 4 is going to be your go-to homing move. Okay, so now let's talk about another of Asuka's very good keep out move or defensive tool, which is her can or her down 3+4. So this is a 14 frame counter hit launcher, which is a low high, but the good thing about this move is it actually gels, meaning if the low hits, the opponent is forced to block the high as well. The only way they can counter this is by commit ducking, right? So which isn't really advised against Asuka a lot, because she does have that 1+2. So it's a very good keep out tool. We've talked about how her defensive utility is very strong in this game. The tracking is decent at best. The low has pretty good tracking, but the high usually whiffs a lot. So if the opponent sidesteps and you do land the low and the high whiffs, they can still get a punish off of you. So I don't really advise using this carelessly. It's not as good as it looks. Like, the properties of this move are really good, but like the range is bad and the whiff recovery is horrible as well. Like, this is something you throw out once in a while. It's something your opponent tends to forget that you have. And remember, Asuka has a lot of defensive tools. She has back 3, she has down forward 2, she has can, right? So you have to mix up the defensive tools and just don't over rely too much on a single tool. And down 3+4 is a good example of that. Like, this move is best thrown out when your opponent least expects it, and it's like 0 range. The range isn't that great. You want your opponent to be point blank range, in your face, like pressing buttons in your face and not really sidestepping a lot, is when you want to throw out the can. It's safe on block at -8. You can't really move afterwards because, you know, -8 is just almost like -9, but the fact that it's safe is just W, bro. So another counter hit tool in Asuka's arsenal. Like, you guys see where I'm going with this, right? When I said Asuka has just a very good balance between offense and defense, this is what I meant. Very strong keep out and very strong defensive tools. So can, of course, should be added in your arsenal. Very good defensive utility, especially if your opponent is in your face at point blank range. Back 3 is another of Asuka's really good defensive tools. This move is used mostly for zoning. So the move is a launcher or natural hit. You can follow up with back 3-4-3 into full combo. It's launch punishable on block at -19. So characters like Hwarang can punish it with like back 3 at close range. At max range, he has like something like forward 4, right? Asuka can forward 2 it. Leroy can forward 2 it. So a lot of characters in this game have really good long range punishments. You have to be very careful when using this move, but you're going to very rarely land this move on block. Like I said, it's mostly used for zoning. So you are at that mid to max range, right, on the screen. Throwing out back 3s, kind of like a warning to your opponent to not just run into you because you have this launcher. I'm sure you've heard people complain about moves like Asuka back 3 and Raven CB4. It's kind of the same thing. Like, these moves tend to have this magnetic effect, even like down forward 2s. You question yourself, when you just find yourself randomly getting launched by these moves, you're like, okay, why the hell did I get hit by this move? Right? I just tried to dash forward a bit and I got hit by like a freaking random ass back 3 or random ass down forward 2. Like, these moves have this like pull or magnetic effect. I don't really know how to describe it, but most people just tend to run into these moves for some reason, right? So it's very good to use in that sense, like zoning, right? Just boom, throwing out back 3s, stay back away. But you have to be very careful against characters with really good long range punishment, like Horang, for example. Whipped back 3 is an easy forward 4 punish for him. Leroy forward 2-2 punish, easy forward 2-2 punish. Mishimas have dash up electric, so you have to be smart when you use this move, but very strong against characters that really have like very strong with punishment, like Steve, for example. Using this at a different pace, different timings is very strong. And just like Ken, this is not the only defensive tool that you have with Asuka. You have to mix up all your defensive tools. Your back 3, your down forward 2, your Can. Like, mix this up all the time to throw you off your opponent's timing, and that's what makes Asuka very scary defensively. Like, her defensive tools are so godlike, bro. Like, they're so good. So back 3 should be used as well in your arsenal, but just not spammed that much, especially at high level. Up forward 3 is another of Asuka's really strong counter hit tools. This move comes out a bit slow at 20 frames, is +8 on hit and -2 on block, which is amazing. In terms of frame data, up forward 3 has it all. It's also a counter hit launcher that goes over low, so this is a low crash. Amazing tool. Again, she just continues the trend of having some really good tools in general, especially in terms of counter hit and keep out, as I've talked about throughout this video. Now, whilst this move is very good, like I said, it's very slow, coming out at 20 frames. Being a counter hit tool, ideally you always want to have some pretty good setups or pretty good frame traps for these moves. But because of how slow this move is, you won't really have strong setups for it outside of maybe after her 2-3 punish, which is like +14. At most, you need something that's like +10, right, to get this off, at least on a trade. But Asuka doesn't really have that many moves that put her at +10, right? Like, +10 is a lot. So you won't really use this in terms of setting it up to get a counter hit launcher. You mostly use it to initiate pressure, because again, it's only -2 on block. That's actually lower in terms of frame data than the generic down forward 1, which are usually like what, -3, right? So you can still move, you can still sidestep, you can still do like parries and power crashes. It's very good to initiate pressure. So she also, like, she has a lot of options to select too. She has up forward 3, which goes over lows, and she has can as well, which is like a low high. So you can mix up a bunch of her counter hit tools. Back 4 as well, right? Back 4. So she has options select for days when it comes to counter hit tools. That's right. That's why Asuka is very versatile in terms of offense and defense. So up forward 3 is used in that sense, used to initiate pressure, but if you do get a counter hit off of this, you get a free launcher, and that's just the icing on the cake. So use it as a poke, initiate pressure into sidestep, right into jabs, all that jazz. Amazing too. In at +8, we're speaking about +8 so much, guys, in terms of frame traps, in terms of follow-ups that you have after +8. Speaking about down forward 2, speaking about back 4, even can, right? 1+2 also is a good follow-up, so she does have some pretty good follow-ups after up forward 3 on hit. Of course, +8, a lot of characters do have some really good follow-ups. That's basically up forward 3. I won't spend too much time on this because it's just as basic as it comes. Use it to low crash, use it to fish for a counter hit. On block, you can still initiate pressure, you can still sidestep, you can still move. But again, be wary of the speed, and like, it can be floated as well by jabs, so use it at the right time. Learn to pick your moments when using this move. While standing 1+2 is another of Asuka's godlike counter hit moves, bro. Like, who is the counter hit punching paragon, bro? Let's be honest, it has to be Asuka and Brian at this point. This is ridiculous. This is perhaps her strongest counter hit launcher, for it does a shitload amount of damage. It is so strong. The only downside, of course, is it comes out from full crouch. But what it makes up for is the range. The range is actually stupid for this move. This covers so much space, bro. Like, so much space. It's amazing. It's slow though at 21 frames. But again, it makes up for in range and damage as well as frame data. It's only -2 on block and +11 on hit. Or +13 on hit rather. Now the plus frames are pretty good, but the only problem is the opponent actually is pushed like way back, like pushed backwards, so you can't really take advantage of those plus frames. So this is kind of a move you use to just fish for the counter hit and create space for yourself, because it creates so much pushback between you and the opponent on block, right? And you're -2, so I'll get into that later. Okay, so now the tracking for 31+2 is very, very weird. It's inconsistent to say the least. At close range, it's not that great, but what I discovered is the further you are from the opponent, the better the tracking actually is for this move. Now again, it was very, very inconsistent. Sometimes the opponent would step me clean, and sometimes it had like really, really good tracking, and that's at max range. But close range, it's so bad that your opponent can actually get behind your back. You have to be very, very careful when you use this move at close range. So it's good to use at its max range, the tip range, because again, like the space this thing covers is amazing. It covers so much space, almost like completely covers the range 2 area, range 1.5, range 2. So it is really, really good, guys. I don't really know how to emphasize this anymore. Now what's interesting is forward 2 is an amazing with Punisher for Asuka, the Demon Slayer. Very, very strong. Punisher has been since like Tekken 5. So now you can actually cancel forward 2 into full crouch by holding down back. You can actually also cancel the outstanding 1+2 on its own by holding down back to cancel back into full crouch. So now forward 2 into down back is a very good cancel to cover space. It takes you right in, covers so much range, so much space. So you do like a forward 2 cancel into outstanding 1+2 to like cover double the range or double the space. Like this flowchart is just so good, bro. Your opponent has to be ready for it. And Asuka actually has a full crouch mix-up, as I'll cover later on in the video as well. This is like the basic 101 on how you want to utilize outstanding 1+2. Is forward 2 cancel to put you back into full crouch, then go for like outstanding 1+2. This covers so much space. Most of the time you get in safely. It's very, very good, very, very versatile. Now again, this is a counter hit launcher, so you want to have some good frame traps, but just like up forward 3, it comes out very slow at 21 frames, so you don't really have strong setups for this. You only have forward 3 right into outstanding 1+2. Forward 3 I believe is +11, so it makes a very good frame trap to do outstanding 1+2 follow up afterwards. Forward 3 also leaves you in full crouch, so forward 3 on hit into outstanding 1+2 is like a go-to frame trap for Asuka. Other than that, she doesn't really have anything else, because again, it's slow and it comes out from full crouch. I also spoke about creating space with outstanding 1+2. This has really good pushback on block and -2, right? So you can sidestep and do a backdash right there with anything after outstanding 1+2, boom. Get them with the forward 2, the Demon Slayer, and awesome with Spanish covers so much space, so much range, so it's good for creating space, good for creating with opportunities for yourself. And again, -2, you can sidestep afterwards, bait out stuff, you can power crush if they try to like just running into you. Asuka has one of those broken, you know, high power crush hit engages, so very, very strong. So it's basically used to cover space, fish for the counter hit, and create opportunities for yourself on block at -2. Opponents do get impatient most of the time, so expect them to press buttons a lot after outstanding 1+2 on block. So again, one of Asuka's best counter hit tools has to be her strongest. The damage is ridiculous on this thing, and the range, like this is just an amazing move. Very, very spammable as well. It's just so strong. Next, let's talk about Asuka's running 1+2. So this is +4 on block, knocks down on normal hit, it's a homing high, and surprise, surprise, it's a counter hit launcher as well. Yeah, like Asuka just has it all in terms of counter hits, and this is like max range. This is the range that Asuka shines the most, max range. This happens that they also gave her running 1+2, which is, dude, like this move is so good. Like it's so strong. Like what else would you ask for counter hits, guys? You have every counter hit for every range with Asuka. It's amazing, simply amazing. So now this move honestly is as easy as it comes, right? Just do it. But the biggest tip I want to give, and this applies to all running moves in Tekken that are highs, is just don't be too obvious with this, don't be too predictable. Because at max range, this is the move that every player is looking for against Asuka. They know how good this move is, and they know how trigger happy Asuka players are with this move. And I don't blame you guys, I don't blame Asuka players, bro. This move is insane, it's ridiculous. But if you do this at max range all the damn time, you are gonna get punished, bro. It's a high, so don't be too predictable. You want to use this at point blank range most of the times when the opponent least expects it. We spoke about stuff like down back 3 right into forward 4 at close range. You can use that, But like, why not mix it up with like a running 1+2? Mix up your timing, right? In a situation where you would throw out forward 4 at close range, throw out a running 1+2 instead. Because again, you do have the potential of getting that counter hit launcher, and at the end of the day, it's still a homing move, so they can't sidestep. Don't be too obvious, it's as easy as it comes. And of course, being a high at max range, you want to have like a really good mid to mix it up at max range. And the best mid to use as a mix up for running 1+2 is forward 3. You can do forward 3 like really slowly, like buffer the forward input so it comes out at max range to the point that it looks like a running input, and your opponent will tend to duck a lot when you do this. So forward 3 is a safe mid at -9 on block and +11 on hit. Leaves you in full crouch as well. On counter hit, it knocks down, giving you a guaranteed forward 3+4. This is the best mid to use as a mix up to your running 1+2. You can also use forward 1+2, but that one won't have as much range as a forward 3. So forward 3 and running 1+2 are best friends in this scenario. Use this to its fullest potential, guys. Again, don't be too predictable with those running 1+2s. Asuka's forward 1 is her big plus frame move. Now Asuka is not really a plus frame heavy character, that's not her archetype, and you see as to why that is the case with just this move alone. So it comes out fairly slow at 23 frames, it's +14 on hit, giving you a guaranteed down back 1-2 if you want to go into hit, or down back 1-4 if you just want damage and don't want to go into hit. Now this move does not have that good of range, the range is fairly poor, it comes out really slow at 23 frames, and on whiff, this is, if not the worst move in the game on whiff. The recovery is actually stupid. She has like this quirky animation where she just like tippy toes when she whiffs this move, so yeah, on whiff this move is horrible. The opponent has enough time to warm up a pizza, take a shower, clap some cheeks, and come back and still punish your ass for throwing out this move on whiff. It's bad, it's really bad. This is no joke. So I don't want you guys using this move in neutral, guys. It's not worth it. The risk is just too high. However, it's very strong at the wall. Like at the wall is where you get the most out of this move. Maybe as well after a hit engager. In that scenario, most people tend to block after a hit engager. They don't tend to sidestep a lot. So after a hit engager, it might be good, but more so you use it more at the wall. And at the wall, it's used for pressure because again, you do have that down 1+2, the big knockdown low, which I will cover soon. So this becomes like a 50-50, right? If they duck, you get the forward 1 guaranteeing you down back 1-2, which was splats for some big damage. If they duck, they start eating the +5. Sorry, if they don't duck, they eat the low. That's a mind game with Asuka at the wall. And they block it again +5, and +5 is what you want with Asuka because she does have that back 4, that down forward 2 for follow-ups as frame traps, right? So very strong for pressuring at the wall. So you have a good 50-50 game with Asuka at the wall with these two particular scenarios, and this is where you get the most out of forward 1. But in neutral, if you do have some really good reads, right, you're sure your opponent is not going to sidestep, then forward 1 is good throwing it out once in a while here and there, but overall, I just don't think it's worth it, guys. The risk is too much because of how horrible that animation is on block. But the move on its own is strong again at +5. You have a lot you can do at +5, but again, the mileage comes at the wall. Use this mostly at the wall for that 50-50 pressure with down 1+2. Okay, so now let's get into some of Asuka's lows, starting with down back 3. So this is a 20 frame low, so pretty unreactable, does 17 damage, which is good, is +4 on hit and leaves the opponent crouching, and it's +14 on counter hit as well, only being -12 on block. So this is an amazing low. For what it is, it's a very good low. The tracking is decent at best. It tracks really decently to her right side, but is pretty weak to her left side. But sidewalk, both sides completely cooks this low. So this is why I said with Asuka, you have to throw in your forward 4s and your running 1+2s for tracking. You can't afford using this character without throwing out tracking. Now you can say that for every character in the roster, but I feel as though Asuka is very linear, guys. She is pretty linear, so I do suggest implementing so many of your home moves and playing this character, and they're actually really good, right? Speaking about forward 4 and running 1+2. So now at +4 on hit, you have some pretty good follow-ups. But the thing about down back 3 is at max range or at a certain range or distance, the opponent can actually beat a lot of your follow-ups if they do a single backdash. So take that +4 very, very lightly. For example, if I do down back 3 into back 4, which is a very strong frame trap, right? A counter is set up for back 4. If the opponent does a single backdash, that back 4 will completely whiff. Same applies to down forward 2 after down back 3. You have to look at the distance every time you throw out a down back 3 on hit. How close is your opponent to you, right? And these setups will work if the opponent presses buttons, but if they decide to backdash or move around, these options will completely whiff and the opponent gets a punish on you, right? That's the downside to this. So with that said, I did talk about running 1+2 after down back 3 is pretty good to counter this, a backdash from the opponent or even a sidestep, right? Sidestep also beats back for follow-up or down forward, so follow-ups after that. So a running 1+2 is a pretty good option after down back 3. There's no specific way you want to use down back 3, it's just a go-to low poke, you go in, you throw out a down back 3. However, I do suggest conditioning your opponent to not move around a lot. Again, this character is linear, so when you notice your opponent is not stepping a lot, throw out the down back 3s. Like this is it's like a very bully heavy option. Like you can bully your opponent hella with this slow. And remember, she does have that 1+2 as well, safe launching mid, so random ducking against Asuka is not advised. Your opponent will have to learn it the hard way. You try to sidestep, you have that running 1+2 that does a buttload of damage. You have forward 4, which is a natural combo or normal hit, and the homing move as well. So you have strong options to counter stepping, which I feel as though is the biggest weakness to this slow. So again, just a go-to low poke. You see an opening, go for down back 3, then some pretty good follow-ups. Talked about down forward 2, back 4. On counter it, you can actually follow up with up forward 3 as well. I forgot to mention this because +14 is a lot. It's a lot, although some massive pushback is there, so you have to be very, very careful. But up forward 3 is a very good follow-up for a counter it setup after down back 3 on CH. So a very good go-to low. Nothing more you can say about this particular low. Next is her full crouch down forward 2. The properties are pretty generic. Comes out at 16 frames, is only 0 on hit, does 10 damage, pretty mediocre, and is only -11 on block. This is a definition of a true low poke. But where the strength comes in for this particular low poke is, again, surprise, surprise, this is technically a counter hit launcher. So this guarantees you outstanding 1-4, which is her 14 frame punish. So you can get to outstanding 1-4 into forward 3+4, which gives you guaranteed, which gives Ninawa gusto and gives you like 65 damage, which is technically combo damage, right? So she also has a counter hit launcher from full crouch low. Like Asuka is just really, I think this character is one of the most underrated characters in the game, right? So it's very, very strong. So using this low poke, you're mostly looking for the counter hit. Now it can frustrate the opponent, but again the frames are 0 on hit, so you set to neutral and you are in a crouching position, so not very favorable for you because again you preferably want to be standing. So you do full crouch down forward 2, you do have a mix up whilst in crouch from this low. You can do full crouch down forward 2 into outstanding 4. This will lose to jabs, but you will beat out a down forward 1 if the opponent throws out a down forward 1. If they start throwing jabs, your outstanding 4 will lose to them, but if you go for full crouch down forward 2 into full crouch down forward 2 again, you will go under the jab. So this opens up like some pretty annoying mind games from the full crouch mix-up game. So yeah, it's pretty decent in that sense as well, but you mostly want the counter hit from this move. And Asuka has a mid from full crouch as well. Full crouch down forward 3 comes out at 17 frames and is -9 on hit, so it's safe, guarantees you a forward 2 on knockdown. So this is what you're going to be using as your full crouch mix-up. Not the best full crouch mix-up out there, but this is not Asuka's archetype. She doesn't really need something big, but it's something she has that you can use. If your opponent is very, very awake and blocking all those full crouch down forward 2s, start throwing out those full crouch down forward 3s and remind them that you do have that full crouch mix up. So it's a pretty decent low poke. Remember, you can also cancel forward 2 into full crouch, so like forward 2 to cover space, then cancel into full crouch down forward 2, right? You can cancel full crouch 1+2, cancel it by holding down back, go back into full crouch and throw a full crouch down forward 2. So it's a very decent low poke, again, not too complicated, very decent, especially the fact that it guarantees you that counter hit follow up for some massive damage. And lastly, for her lows, let's talk about down 1+2, which is Asuka's last hurrah. This is a 20 frame fast low, so unreactable, knocks down on normal hit, giving you forward 2 guaranteed, so you get that sweet Ninawa gusto install, and this is why this law is worth using. And on block, this is launch punishable, so just think of it like Asuka's Hell Sweep. I've touched upon this law throughout the video. The range is bad and the tracking is bad as well. Think of 1+2 but the low version of 1+2. This is what down 1+2 is, very linear with a very bad range. As such, you are going to use this law mostly at the wall, is where it's like super effective, and of course at point blank range when you are at a favorable advantage. So let's say after a hit engager. These are some of the best scenarios in which 1+2, down 1+2 is going to be used a lot. Stuff like dash up 1+2 is good, but that's very predictable. And of course you do have the 1+2, but again, these moves are linear, guys. They are very linear. As much as strong as this law is, it is very situational. You don't just go for it every single time. With Asuka, you have the luxury of bullying your opponent with that down back 3. Bully them, chip away at their health gauge. You do have these big counter hit tools, right? Play your defense, play your parries, play your keep out. If you have a life lead, if you try to catch up now, take them to the wall, and this is why your mind game 50-50 coin flip stuff comes into play with down 1+2. So I did say 1+2 is that mix-up situation, or the mid you use for your mix-up. You can also use forward 1, as I discussed in the forward 1 section at the wall. So at the wall is where down 1+2 thrives. Very good law and very valuable because of that easy Ninawa gusto install, which I'll cover later in the video as well. So yeah, this is like Asuka's biggest risky, like her riskiest law. So I have to be smart on using this. Not that effective in neutral, so be very careful. Don't be reckless throwing out this particular law. So on top of Asuka having one of the best counter hit tools and some of the best keep out tools as well, she has one of the best parries in the game as well. She's like a mini Leroy, to be honest with you. And like, bro, like defensively, this character cooks. So let's talk about some of Asuka's strongest parries that you need to implement in your arsenal, starting with back 1+3 or back 2+4. So there are 2 versions of this. Like you can just do back 3+1 on its own, just let it go. She has like this short animation of a punch parry, or you can hold it to increase the window of this parry, which makes it very annoying to deal with. You have to have your timing correctly if you're facing Asuka to know when and how to punish this particular parry. So it parries both kicks and jabs, or both kicks and punches. It won't parry elbows, it won't parry knees, it won't parry weapons as well, such as Victor Kunai or his Victor Harambe. If you get a punch parry off of back 1+3, you can get guaranteed forward 3+4, which gives you Ninawa gusto. But if you parry a punch, you don't get anything guaranteed. You just get 25 damage raw. So parries in general are not as strong as they were back in Tekken 7. The biggest weakness to parry in this game are grabs, like throws, completely cook parries. This is one of the reasons why Leroy is not as strong anymore in this game, and this applies to Asuka as well. But Asuka, unlike Leroy, has some of the best defensive tools, as we've covered throughout the video, and counter hit tools as well. So in terms of keep out and defensive utility, she outshines Leroy, to the point that parries for Asuka are just an added bonus, or kind of like a by the way thing. You have extra options if you're trying to like increase the defensive utility, right? So Asuka is absolutely insane. Remember, she also has that power crush hit engager, safe high power crush hit. So like defensive options, this character carries. So don't just spam this parry. Asuka players, green rank Asuka players, don't just spam parry. This is not Tekken 7. It's not as strong. You'll be killed by throws. Then she has forward 2+3. She does a punch parry into a kick. So this is a punch parry exclusively. Cannot parry kicks, is specifically used for punches. Then she does a high follow-up after. So the high is safe on block. It's a high, and it's a natural launcher on hit. Just like forward 4, it has the same animation and the same knockdown. So it's very inconsistent in terms of getting the full combo out of this. So just like forward 4, I advise you to go for forward 3+4 instead for guaranteed damage. This is amazing against characters that jab a lot, and as a Steve main, I know just how annoying it is to deal with this parry. It is so strong. This parry is very linear though, and again the follow-up is a high, so the opponent, if you just make a wrong read and you throw this out, the opponent can easily duck, opponent can easily step and get behind you and punish the hell out of you. So this should be a hard read. And you know an opponent is going to throw out a jab, you throw out forward 2+3. Remember, you also have back 1+3, you also have back 2+4 as the other alternative to this parry if you're not sure if the opponent will throw out a jab or a kick. But if you have a hard read and 100% sure they're going to jab you in certain scenarios, then forward 3+2 should be the better option, because this is a combo launcher. Like, if you get the punch parry, you get a combo, guaranteed full combo, guys. Like, this is strong. It is so strong. As a Steve player, all my days, it is so hard against Asuka. But again, just like back 3+1 or back 1+3, parry can be countered by throws. You can't break throws when you are grabbed whilst doing a parry, so keep that in mind. She also has back 2+3, and this is exactly like forward 2+3. It's specifically meant for kick. This is a kick parry. Forward 2+3 is a punch parry. So she has parries for certain situations. This one is kind of niche, to be honest with you. It's good in certain matchups, like against Hwarang. Hwarang, as you know, is a taekwondo artist. He kicks a lot. Like, that boy be kicking for days. So they gave Asuka this amazing kick parry in Tekken 7, which parries kicks, and of course, just like forward 2+3, it's a full launcher on parry. Amazing, amazing. Although niche, because you can't really use this against a lot of characters in the game unless you have another hard read, right? Another hard read on a kick parry. But overall, it's specifically good against Hwarang. When you have a hard read, go for back 2+3. So if the move lands on its own on block, it's actually safe at -9 and +8 on hit, which, as we talked about throughout the video, +8 is really good against Asuka with a really strong follow-ups. But just like forward 2+3 as well, it's very linear. Very linear. Again, you have to be very careful. This is based off of hard reads. So back 2+3 and forward 2+3 kind of work in the same sense, that you want a hard read, because again, if you just mistime it anyway, they are getting stepped like free. You're getting stepped. The moves take like forever on whiff as well, so you're gonna get your ass launched and punished hard. So be very careful. You do have that back 3+4, that back 1+3 as a safety net. It's an easier parry because it beats both options. Yes, you want to get a launcher, but at least you get some big damage and you can get a potential Ninawa Gusto insta out of it. So rely mostly on back 1+3 than you would forward 2+3 or back 2+3, because those require hard reads. And lastly, she has down back 1+2. This is a low parry, which gives you a full launcher. Now this one is very niche. Again, you need the hardest of reads against a low, right? So you won't really see that many Asuka players even using this, but I just added it for the sake of letting you guys know just how much versatility she has in terms of parries. But in my opinion, I suggest you use mostly back 1+3, forward 2+3, and back 2+3 specifically for hard reads. So yeah, Asuka is one of, like, honestly, if not the best character when it comes to defensive options in Tekken 8. Amazing character, very underrated. And in terms of parries, you have to be smart against Asuka. These are people are always moving, they're always patient against Asuka. They're waiting for that back 3, they're waiting for that, you know, down forward 2, that can, they're waiting for the parries. There's no one way an opponent can get into you. They have to make a read and guess what you're going to do, because yeah, she is very versatile. Her defensive tools are just too good. So these are Asuka's parries in general, guys, so utilize them as much as you can. So finally, let's talk about Asuka's Ninawa Gusto. So just like Brian, just like Claudio, Asuka has an insto. It works exactly the same way. This insto buffs a couple of moves that Asuka has. So you can get this insto by using certain moves. Her first move is forward 3+4. I have covered this move so much throughout the video. It's basically a follow-up you get after grounded hits. It hits grounded, so it's a very good way to get Ninawa Gusto buff. You can get it after forward 2 1+2, which is a combo ender, mid-screen combo ender. So if a mid-screen, always end your combo with forward 2 1+2 to get that Ninawa Gusto install if you don't have it already. And then you can also get it from forward 2 her Demon Slayer, forward 2 with Punisher, so forward 2 then 1+2 to get an install of Ninawa Gusto. So these are some of the examples of the moves that you have to get this particular install. So this buffs 3 of Asuka's moves. Her first move being running 1+2, which I've covered already. So this is +4 on block, knocks down on normal hit, and is a counter hit launcher as well. However, when Asuka gets the Ninawa Gusto buff, this move becomes a natural launcher on hit. That's right, safe natural launcher on hit, boys. And the plus frames go from +4 to +11. +11 is insane, and it does so much damage. Basically, the counter hit damage it does is added to the normal damage when you are in Ninawa Gusto. So this is ridiculous. Like, it's so good, bro. It is so good. One of the best moves in the game, just in general, right? Very, very strong. Secondly, it also buffs her forward 1+2. So her forward 1+2 is just a safe mid that knocks down whilst like normally, right? Nothing too serious. I think it's like -6 on block as well, so not too exciting, not too serious. However, when Asuka is in Ninawa Gusto or she gets her install, this also becomes a natural launcher on hit. So forward 1+2 is kind of used in the same way as forward or while running 1+2. They are kind of best friends. You use forward 1+2 as a mix up to running 1+2 because again, natural launcher on hit, and this is a mid. Running 1+2 is a high, but this one is a mid, so it makes a perfect mix up for the running 1+2. Like, it's ridiculous. Run Asuka in your face and you try to guess for your life. Oh my days, better pray, my boy, better start praying. And then lastly, it also enhances her up forward 1+2. So up forward 1+2 normally is just a knockdown mid. It's -13 on block, nothing too serious. But whilst she has Ninawa Gusto buff, this move now spikes in combos. Like, you guys remember, like Dragonov in Tekken 7, his rage drive, after a combo he could spike and follow up with back 1+2. So it gives Asuka the same animation when she does her up 1+2. So after a combo, this becomes like your normal combo ender now when you have the Ninawa Gusto buff. So it becomes a spike, which gives us some pretty good damage. You can follow up with forward 3+4 or like a forward 2 to get another Ninawa Gusto install. So pretty scary. And on block, it goes from -13 to +8. It becomes plus, but you won't use it all that much in neutral. You mostly use it to do your spike combo enders for some massive damage. And then when Asuka goes into hit, she gets infinite Ninawa Gusto. Basically, you use Ninawa Gusto moves at the cost of your hit gauge instead of using it when you have the buff. Because every time you have the buff and you use a particular move, you run out of it again. You have to get the Ninawa Gusto buff and do the loop over again, right? Use it, then spend it, get it, then spend it, get it, and spend it. But when you're in hit, you use it infinitely at the cost of your hit gauge. That's basically how her install works. Again, just like Claudio, just like Brad. It's pretty good, guys. One of the best hit mechanics in the game for free. So there you have it, guys, a complete guide on Asuka revolving around some of her most important tools. Now, of course, I haven't covered every single tool that Asuka has. So moves like down back 1, side slip 2, her power crush hit engager, and some of her throws. She has some really good throws. That's because I don't really like my guides being over an hour. I just like them being at least under or just an hour exactly. But I will cover all of this later in the future. So if you do love Asuka and want more Asuka related content, please do consider liking, subscribing, and sharing the video and letting you boys know about this video. It does take a while recording these. It takes me on average a week to get a guide out, so your support will be highly appreciated. Constructive criticism is always welcome. What can I do better for you guys? Do you have difficulties understanding what I'm trying to say? I know my accent is a huge problem for a lot of people, so please give me some feedback and let me know what I can do to improve for you. So thank you again. Thank you again so much, guys, and I appreciate. GG. Take care, and may the frame data be ever in your favor.